EMP Museum is a non-profit museum, dedicated to contemporary popular culture. EMP Museum was founded by Microsoft co-founder Paul Allen in 2000. Since that time EMP has organized dozens of exhibits, 17 of which have toured across the US and internationally. The museum, formerly known as Experience Music Project and Science Fiction Museum and Hall of Fame, has founded numerous public programs including Sound Off, an annual 21 and Under Battle of the Bands that supports the all-ages scene and pop conference, an annual gathering of academics, critics, musicians and music buffs. EMP, in collaboration with the Seattle International Film Festival SIFF, presents the Science Fiction and Fantasy Short Film Festival, which takes place annually every winter at Seattle Cinerama Theater. Activities. EMP Museum is home to exhibits, interactive activity stations, sound sculpture, and various educational resources. A 140,000-square-foot building, designed by Franco Guri, that houses multiple galleries as well as the Sky Church, which features a Barco C7 Black Package LED screen, one of the largest indoor LED screens in the world. Exhibits that cover pop culture, from the art of fantasy, horror cinema, and video games to science fiction literature and costumes from screen and stage. Interactive activities included in galleries like Sound Lab and on stage, where visitors can explore hands-on the tools of rock and roll through instruments, and perform music before a virtual audience. IF6WAS9, a guitar sculpture consisting of more than 500 musical instruments and 30 computers, conceived by UK exhibit designer Neil Potter and developed by sound sculptor Trim Pin. The largest collections in the world of rare artifacts, handwritten lyrics, personal instruments, and original photographs celebrating the music and history of Seattle musicians Nirvana and Jimi Hendrix. Educational resources including EMP's curriculum connections and museum workshops and outreach programs. STAR. Creativity camps for kids. Teen artist workshops. And Right Out of This World, an annual sci-fi and fantasy short story contest for 3rd to 12th graders. Public programs such as EMP Unregistered Trademark Science Fiction Plus Fantasy Short Film Festival, Pop Conference, the Youth Advisory Board, and Sound Off. The Northwest Unregistered Trademark Premier Battle of the Bands. Science Fiction Museum. The Science Fiction Museum and Hall of Fame was founded by Paul Allen and Jody Patton and opened to the public on June 18, 2004. It incorporated the formerly independent Science Fiction and Fantasy Hall of Fame established in 1996. The museum was divided into several galleries with common themes such as Home World, Fantastic Voyages, Brave New Worlds, and M. Each gallery displayed related memorabilia in large display cases, posters, and interactive displays to sketch out the different subjects. From robots to jetpacks to spacesuits and ray guns, it's all here. Members of the museum's advisory board included Steven Spielberg, Ray Bradbury, James Cameron, and George Lucas. Among its collection of artifacts were Captain Kirk's command chair from Star Trek, the B-9 robot from Lost in Space, the Death Star model from Star Wars, the T-800 Terminator and the dome from the film Silent Running. Although the Science Fiction Museum as a permanent collection was deinstalled in March 2011, a new exhibit named Icons of Science Fiction opened as a replacement in June 2012, at which time the new Hall of Fame display was unveiled and the class of 2012 inducted. Science Fiction and Fantasy Hall of Fame. The Science Fiction and Fantasy Hall of Fame was founded in 1996 by the Kansas City Science Fiction and Fantasy Society and the Center for the Study of Science Fiction at the University of Kansas. The chairmen were Keith Stokes and Robin Wayne Bailey. Only writers and editors were eligible for recognition and 4 were inducted annually, 2 deceased and 2 living. Each class of 4 was announced at Kansas City's annual science fiction convention, Conquest, and inducted at the Campbell Conference hosted by CSSF. The Hall of Fame stopped inducting fantasy writers after 2004, when it became part of the Science Fiction Museum affiliated with EMP, under the name Science Fiction Hall of Fame. Having inducted 36 writers in 9 years, in 2005 it began to recognize non-literary media. It retained the quota of 4 new members and thus reduced the annual number of writers. The 2005 and 2006 press releases placed new members in literature, art, and film, television and media, and open categories, 1 each. In 2007 and 2008 the 4th inductee was placed in one of the 3 substantial categories. EMP installed the Science Fiction Museum in March 2011. When the exhibition Icons of Science Fiction opened in June 2012, a new Hall of Fame display was unveiled and the class of 2012 inducted. Nominations are submitted by EMP Museum members but the selections are made by award-winning science fiction authors, artists, editors, publishers, and film professionals. EMP restored the original name online during June 2013 and announced 5 new members, 1 daily, beginning June 17. The first 4 were cited largely or wholly for science fiction but the last was J.R.R. Tolkien, hailed as the father of modern fantasy literature. The class of 2014 brings the number of members to 84, 4 annually except 5 in 2008 and 2013 to 2015. Science Fiction and Fantasy Hall of Fame inductions, 1996, Jack Williamson. A. E. Van Vogt. John W. Campbell, Jr. Hugo Gernsback, 1997, Andre Norton. Arthur C. Clarke. H. G. Wells. Isaac Asimov, 1998, Hal Clement. Frederick Pohn. C. L. Moore. Robert A. Heinlein, 1999, Ray Bradbury. Robert Silverberg. Jules Verne. Abraham Merritt, 2000, Paul Anderson. Gordon Dixon. Theodore Sturgeon. Eric Frank Russell, 2001, Jack Vance. Ursula K. Le Guin. Alfred Bester. Fritz Leiber, 2002, Samuel Adlani. Michael Moorcock. James Blish. Donald A. Wollheim, 2003, Wilson Tucker. Kate Wilhelm. Damon Knight. Edgar Rice Burroughs, 2004, Brian Aldiss. Harry Harrison. Mary Wollstonecraft Shelley. E. E. Doc Smith, 2005, Steven Spielberg. Philip K. Dick. Chesley Bonestell. Ray Harryhausen, 2006, George Lucas. Frank Herbert. Frank Kelly Freas. Anne McCaffrey, 2007, Ed M. Schwiller. Gene Roddenberry. Ridley Scott. Gene Wolfe, 2008, Ian Ballantine and Betty Ballantine. William Gibson. Richard M. Powers. Rod Serling, 2009, Edward L. Furman. Michael Whelan. Frank Paul. Connie Willis, 2010, Octavia East Butler. Richard Matheson. Douglas Trumbull. Roger Zelazny, 2011, Vincent D. Fate. Gardner Dozois. Harlan Ellison. Jean Giraud, 2012, Joe Hordman. James Tiptree, Jr. James Cameron. Virgil Finlay, 2013, H. Giga. Judith Merrill. Joanna Russ. David Bowie. J.R.R. Tolkien, 2014, Frank Frazetta. Hayao Miyazaki. Lee Brackett. Olaf Stapledon. Stanley Kubrick, 2015, James E. Kuhn. Georges Marc. Copyright Leah S. John Schoenherr. Kurt Vonnegut. Jack Gorn. Architecture. EMP is located on the campus of Seattle Center, adjacent to the Space Needle and the Seattle Center monorail, which runs through the building. The structure itself was designed by Frank Gehry, and resembles many of his firm's other works in its sheet metal construction, such as Guggenheim Museum Bilbao, Walt Disney Concert Hall, and Gehry Tower. Much of the building material is exposed in the building's interior. The building contains 140,000 square feet, with a 35,000 square foot footprint. The name of the museum's Central Sky Church pays homage to Jimi Hendrix. A concert venue capable of holding up to 800 guests, Sky Church boasts 70-foot ceilings, state-of-the-art sound and lighting, and a mammoth indoor HD LED screen. the last structural steel beam to be put in place bears the signatures of all construction workers who were on site on the day it was erected. Hoffman Construction Company of Portland, Oregon was the general contractor. Magnuson Clemensick Associates of Seattle, Washington were the structural engineers for the project. Even before groundbreaking, Seattle Weekly said the design could refer to the often quoted comparison to a smashed electric guitar. Indeed, Guri himself had made the comparison: "We started collecting pictures of Stratocasters, bringing in guitar bodies, drawing on those shapes and developing our ideas." The architecture was greeted by Seattle residents with a mixture of acclaim for Guri and derision for this particular edifice. Frank Guri, remarked British-born, Seattle-based writer Jonathan Raban, has created some wonderful buildings, like the Guggenheim Museum in Bilbao, but his Seattle effort, the Experience Music Project, is not one of them. New York Times architecture critic Herbert Muschamp described it as something that crawled out of the sea, rolled over, and died. Forbes magazine called it one of the world's 10 ugliest buildings. Others describe it as a blob, or call it the hemorrhoids. Despite some critical reviews of the structure, the building has been called a fitting backdrop for the world's largest collection of Jimi Hendrix memorabilia. The outside of the building, which features a fusion of textures and colors, including gold, silver, deep red, blue and a shimmering purple haze, has been declared an apt representation of the American rock experience. Finances: the museum has had mixed financial success. In an effort to raise more funds, museum organizers used Allen's extensive art collection to create a 2006 exhibit within the confines of the EMP. The exhibit was entitled Double Take, From Monet to Lichtenstein. The exhibit included Roy Lichtenstein's The Kiss, Pierre-Auguste Renoir's The Reader, Vincent van Gogh's Orchard with Peach Trees in Blossom, Pablo Picasso's Four Bathers and several works of art from Claude Monet, including one of the Water Lilies paintings and the Mueller Palace. Since then the museum has organized numerous exhibitions focused more specifically on popular culture, sound and vision. Artists Tell Their Stories, which opened February 28, 2007, for example, brought together both music and science fiction in a single exhibit, and drew on the museum's extensive collection of oral history recordings. The museum's recent exhibitions have ranged from horror cinema, video games, and black leather jackets to fantasy film and literature. References. External links: EMP Museum official website, Seattle Wiki, Experience Music Project, Experience Music Project at greatbuildings.com, New Interfaces for Musical Expression an IME01, Exhibitions/Past Exhibitions. Experience Music Project and Science Fiction Museum. Archived September 23, 2007. Retrieved March 19, 2013. Exhibitions/Past Exhibitions. Experience Music Project and Science Fiction Museum. Archived January 27, 2011. Retrieved March 19, 2013. Exhibitions/Past Exhibitions. EMP Museum. Archived July 18, 2012. Retrieved March 19, 2013.